Hi guys, this is Robin, and today we'll be covering Angular routing. Angular is a single page framework. What this means is that as opposed to traditional web applications, every time a user requests for a page, we are not going to be sending requests to the server. Instead, we'll be hiding and displaying information based on the user's navigation. This provides for a faster and better browsing experience. So the first step will be creating an Angular app and adding Bulma CSS framework. So the first thing as always is making sure that you have Angular CLI installed. You need to run npm install global Angular CLI. I'm running the latest version of Angular CLI, which is Angular 10 as we're recording this. The next step is to ng new install. So I'm going to go to my VC code and run ng new. I'm going to call my project Angular routing. Click enter, wait for it to do its thing. So it's going to ask me whether I would like to add Angular routing. I'm going to click on yes. I'm going to use just CSS, a basic CSS. It's going to install packages. So now that it's done, I need to cd into Angular routing and run npm start. So now we can actually follow our link. And this is the first page that you will see. So the first thing we need to do is just clean up. And to clean this up, we need to go to source app folder, app component.html. We need to delete all this. This is what's actually showing on the home page. We need to delete all this apart from the router outlet. Selecting all of it and deleting it, save. Now if we look at our page, there's nothing that's displaying. The next thing we're going to do, I need to install, we'll be using Bulma framework. This framework is a CSS framework that I like very much. I like it a lot because it's very easy to use and you can quickly come up with a very beautiful website. They have all the components already like designed. Of course, this is not a CSS class. I don't plan to do a lot of CSS work, and this makes it extremely easy to come up with a working website. So we need to run npm. Let me stop this. Need to run npm install Bulma, and we need to make changes to angular.json to tell it that we want to use Bulma as our CSS framework. So you need to come, it's around line 27. Here we need to add, we're actually just telling it where to find Bulma in our node modules. Now we can actually run npm start again. So the third step is to configure our app routing module. And this is in case you've already started your project without including the app routing module. What you need to do is just create a file under app, call it app routing module, import all this, and go over to app module and actually import that module. This is what you're actually importing, and it's here. Then you need to go to HTML, index.html, and include this base href so that Angular knows how to construct your routes. So, like I explained in the introduction, we are using the app routing because Angular is a single page application. We're using the app routing module to actually hide and actually view components. So we're going to create two components. The first one will be called home. It's for the home page. I'm going to create another one, or I need to cd into, sorry, into, I think I call this project routing, no, Angular routing. So run the same command. So now that it's creating admin, you can see the home component has been created here. It's a home component and the admin component has been created. Next step is to go to app routing and actually create the routes. Now the routes are actually just objects. Each route is an object with a path and the component it's supposed to display. So I'm going to import the home component. Let's call this page, this path home. And now I need to create another path for admin component. I'm going to call this one to import the admin component that we've just created. Now if you go to our app, where is it, and go to home, saying home works. If we now move to admin works. So what this actually means is that we've already created our first two routes and they're actually redirecting us to our home and admin component. Now the next step we need to do is to add a navbar that now can actually add routes to home and admin. That's step number 5. And to do that, I need to go to Bulma. I'll show you why we are using Bulma because it's so easy. When I've gone to components here, the documentation page, and I've gone to navbar. And I just want to copy the whole of this navbar. So I'm clicking on copy there. Going to our app component.html. This router outlet is what is now displaying this. So if we put anything above it, there. We go to our page, saying it's showing hi there, and we move to, if we move to home, hi there is still showing. So the app routing module is taking over from this point where you put the router outlet. So I want to put the navbar above it. So you have the whole navbar that I'd copied from Bulma, and below it I'm having the router outlet. I'm going to save that. Let's go back to our home. You see the navbar is showing. I'm going to make a few changes. I want to delete the more from here. Just make it small. To delete that, I'm going to make this home and change the documentation to admin. Let's look at our changes. It's reloading. There's an error, probably deleted something that I'm not supposed to. And one is not closed. Let me undo everything. Make sure I'm actually getting everything right. So we have this div. How far is it going? Actually deleted the wrong div. I want this div, the one that has more. Okay, so let's delete that. Sorry, so it's moving too fast. change this to admin. Come on. Let me close this. So you have home and admin. So the first thing we're going to handle here, I'm going to add router link. I'm going to pass blank. This should be router link. And here this will be another link now to go to admin. Now this is admin. Now let's go back to our home page. Now let me change something here in router link. In app routing module, you want to say if it's blank, just redirect it to home component. So when you go to our app, click on admin, it's changing to admin. If you click to home, it's going back to home component. Now we have one issue still remaining. If let's say I just try product or a route that's not defined, we are getting an error. Let me try that again. Let me go to home. Let me clear this. Now let's go to O. So we're getting an error. And to handle that, let me create another page. Component is almost like a page. And let me call it error. Now to handle that, we need to create a new path and say that if the route that someone has put in is not defined, and you represent that with 2 stars, component is error component. We need to put a comma here. And close that. That should be okay. Save that and go to the error page and just give it with a title and 404 error. Let's say page not found. So let's go back to our, let's refresh this. There's an error with our routing. Let's go back to our routing, app routing module. It's saying path. Oh, this is not supposed to be a capital C, it's a small c. So we can go to admin work, home works, and if we put something else like eso, it says bring page not found. So we actually are handling our pages if they're not found. Now the next thing we need to do, so we actually need now to add the home page. Let's work on that. So the home page, let's go to Bulma website, and I want to use the card component. And I'm just going to look for, grab the first one, go back to home page, create a div, call this home, a div with columns, create a div with a column, then add it. If we go back to our home page, let me close this. Have this huge card object that we've created, but I'm going to be adding some a JSON file for all our products. I created this with on the previous tutorial on making an Amazon clone. You can check it out. I'm just going to copy paste it. We're going to use this because we don't want to actually start creating a server to provide us with like the products to use. So I'm just going to hard code it. This is just a JSON file. You can create. I have this. Let me just show you what we have as the fields. So I have a field of ID for products. I have a field of ID, the title, the description, a price, image, and rating. So I've created 5 of them. Now I can come to homepage HTML and add. So here with I want to edit this to actually reflect my object. So the first thing we need to do is here we need to say the ng4. This goes through all the items, all the products, and kinda maps them. So now instead of this image we can use, let me delete this way, can use no item, so item image. So I'm getting this image from here. That's an image. Then we need to change the price and the name. I'll just copy paste the whole thing. Should I, or should, let's just go one by one so that you guys don't get lost. I'm not changing that. Next is the price. Item.price. Then this, I'm not using this, can delete this. I'm also not using the content. All of this, let me delete all of this. I don't think I'll be using this. I'm just going to add the title here. Okay, class of title. So this is actually just the name of the product. Item.title. Then I'm going to add a button. Delete the time, don't need that. Button. Let's learn more or something. Let's see how it looks. So our items are actually showing. The button is showing for learn more, showing the price. Maybe the price, I can put a $sign here. Where's my $sign? Yes, and the space. Then I need to tell it to how to arrange them. I want like 3 per row. So I'm going to go next to column. So it's 1/3. This is all from Bulma. So it actually spaced right, but they're going up to the end. I need to tell it it's multi-line so that they go into multiple line. So just say it's multi-line. So we're getting 3 items per row. It's multi-line. Let me now just work on the button a bit to make it just look a bit better. I want it to be its full width. And the color is warning. See how it looks? Yeah, that's okay. So the next thing to do is actually look at how we can click on learn more and be redirected to a new page. We're going to call that new page product. Let's call it product detail. Let's create it, then go back to home and say when you click, selecting product. So let's create actually that function. First thing we'll do, we can console log and say product selected, just to make sure it's actually connected. So expect element console, we select product selected, so it's actually connected. So what we want to do is go to app routing, and now make sure your error page is the last thing, because Angular kind of just goes through all the routes. So if it finds the double asterisk, it's going to match any path to that. So it will start with this, and it will go searching for what we're actually adding here. I'm going to call this page product detail, and the component is product detail component. Let's put a comma at the end. Now we're going to use the first routing mechanism, or this should be the second one, and that we need to import it. Say private router, it's a router, and we're importing it from Angular router. So we can say this dot router dot navigate, and pass in the route we want to navigate to, which is the one we just created, and they called it product detail. So we don't need the console log. And now when you click, we're actually being navigated to product detail. You see it's saying product detail works. So let's look what we need to do next. So next thing is actually passing parameters with your routing. So to do that, let's go to home components. We only need to make one change here, and that is you can add p for our product, and say that now we want to pass, apart from just the route, we want to actually pass the product ID. Then let's go to the home component, and here when we select, we want to pass the item. Then we go to app routing and actually match this to ID. So what will happen now, go back to our page. If we select learn more, you see the product here, the ID is actually being by the product has an ID of 1. Let's go to a different one. So the product is matching the ID with the product to the ID of 3 here. Now let me just make one simple change just to make this website look a bit better. Let's go back to this home page, go to the top and add a container class. Remember, all these classes are just coming from Boom. I'm not adding them or coding them myself. So the home page now should look a bit more, it's a bit more, it was too wide. I can actually close this. So what's happening here is we are actually, when we are clicking on an item, the router is actually just automatically creating this route with an ID. So what you can do here is, once you have that ID, and to get it, you can do, once the product detail is created, you can say that ID is equals to, let's import it, private root. We want to use the activated root. So we've imported the activated root. Now you can say this dot root and get a snapshot dot param. Let me confirm. Dot param map. Now dot get. What you want to get is an ID. Now if I console log this, and say what's the ID. So let's see what we are saying. We inspect element here, console log. You can see here what's the ID. So we're actually getting the ID of the product that we've selected. Let me delete all this. See, we're getting it's actually writing hearts ID, but we know what we mean. So what we can do with this here is, now if this was a real app and you've just passed just the ID, you'd have to run maybe a HTTP request. Here you do http.get product with this ID. So you'd run a get here to your server and populate your, like actually populate this page with the ID, with the details about that product. Now there's another way of doing it, and that takes us to step number 7. In Angular 7.2, they added navigation extras, and navigation extras is a way of actually passing, like you can pass an object or and other information to the next component through navigation. And the beauty about that is, now because we already had the product, we already called our API on the home page here, we've already called it and we got the product. We don't need to actually now make another call when we want to check the product details. We only need to pass this whole product, like one of these product, what we've created or what we've clicked on, and pass it through the router to the product details page. I want to show you how to do that. is actually quite simple. Now what we need to do is instead of this, let me just, I won't delete it, maybe you might need to use it later. We need to create a navigation object, call it let navigation extra. Let's import it. Navigation extras. Just a minute, let me import the right thing. I think it's you're getting it from router, Angular router. Let me import it. Let me import navigation extras. Okay, so let's come back to our code. It's not equals, so type navigation extras. Let's create it. The only thing we need to pass is a state, and the state is actually an item. We're creating an object called state, and the state we can call it item, and the item is the product we're actually passing. So we're passing this product as a state, and the state item that we're passing to the router. Then the only thing we need to do now, after we've created this, just come and say this dot router to navigate. Almost the same thing we've done. Pass the page product. Let me just copy product detail and pass navigation extras. So now when you go to the product detail page, let's check whether there are any errors. There are no errors. Now let's go back to our code. We can say here we need to import something else, and let's just first do this. So you can console log. Let's see what we're actually getting. Need to import something first here. Private router. So we've imported router from, again, Angular router here, and also imported, this is a activated route we had imported earlier. So for now, let's do console log and say, let's see what is in extras. Just need to say this dot router dot get current navigation. We're going into extras, then under extra state and under state item. So this is, we're just basically going down through this. So if you add state and item, so let's save that. Let's put a comma here, and then let's go to our up routing. We don't need this now. Don't need the ID route, and I hope it has reloaded. So you're seeing, so here we're actually getting the extras. We're getting what we've actually selected. So we actually passed this item through the router, and now to use it, I'm going to go back to home. But let me pass it first to, let me create an item here. I'm going to say item of type any. Then I'm going to delete this console log and just say that this dot item is equals to this, to what we've actually passed down through the router. Then now I can come and copy. I only need this card, so see if I can get all of it. Just need one card here and go up to card. So I'm designing the product detail page. I'm going to give it a class of product detail. Let me put it in a container. Then I'm going to give it a title of product details. Then actually add the card. So what we're doing, because I'm not using ng repeat because it's only one product, I can actually just get the item then the image. So we're getting this. This is what you're actually getting when you construct this component using using the item that we're getting from the router. So let's save that. Let's see how that looks. So when you click, see you're getting the whole. This is the card we just created, and because this is a details page, I want to add some more details like the description of the item. So if we look at our JSON here, there's actually there's a description. Let's save that desk. So let's go to the product detail component, and before the button I can just put a p tag. Let me add strong, and need to add item description. Then I also want this to say, instead of select product, selecting this, we don't have this function, so it's going to say, let's say add to cart. So let's look at our page again. Something is wrong. Something is wrong. Let me try that again. Again, I don't know what we've added that has brought the issue. Let me undo everything. So I don't know if it's the button. Let's change the button. It can't be this, but add to cart. I think I called it description. It must have been description. Yes, I'm gonna make this. Let me remove this break. So the description should be showing now. I wanted to make it strong, so it's a bit bolder. I don't know whether it must have been just a spelling mistake or something. So this is actually working now, but we have one tiny problem. So if I copy this and try to access it, I'm not getting anything. In fact, I'm getting an error, I think. So this is because we need to actually click on this button, the learn more button, this button here, to actually pass this item into the router, so the router can create this page. So at the moment here we're not getting anything. Now to solve it, you can pass another item in navigation extras, and that is, you can pass, let me just confirm, query params. Once you pass query params and pass it as an ID, and the ID is product.id. So this is actually this ID that we are passing here. I put a comma here, and now let's look at our page again. If we actually click on learn more, you can see here we're actually passing the ID as part of the routing, or as part of the parameters. So what we need to do is actually get this ID, so we need to go to product details page. Now change this a bit and say that this dot route, want to get the ID of the ID of the product you're actually looking at. Let's route dot query params dot subscribe, get the param. Let's console log it at first. Params console log params. So now let's try and load it here. You can see the params has an ID of 1, so you can use this to actually fetch this item if someone has actually just shared this link without actually going through the home page. So I'm going to use this. I'm going to copy this. The first thing I'm going to do is actually check if get correct navigation has extras. I need to check if it has any state, then I can pass that state to this dot item. Else, this is what I'm talking about. Let's delete this. Else, now fetch from your API. So you do http.get, then you use params.id to get that product. But for now, because we don't have an actual API or server, we'll just assign it to like a random product here. So let's just fetch one product, maybe the 4th product here. So in case someone hasn't actually clicked on learn more, we want to show them this item. And now it's actually, if you actually have this, just the root, the URL with the corresponding ID, you can just go to that page. So that is the end of this part. So as a recap, we've covered the routing module, how to use the router link, passing params, and using the navigation extras. If you enjoyed the content, please like and subscribe. See you in the next one.